Hi there, I'm Vincent Bos and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing I know what your ex did last night. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. Check out my socials for extra content. The links are in the description. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing I know what your ex did last night. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you will likely be shocked and concerned when someone tells you information about your ex. In today's podcast, I'll be discussing 3 examples of when people tell you things about your ex and the likelihood of what this truly means. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is I saw your ex posted this on social media. So this is a classic example of when you as a dumpee would likely be told things about your ex by a friend or family member that has seen something that your ex, the dumper, has posted online. Now, maybe you deliberately avoid your ex's social media, and if that's the case, I think that is the right thing to do. I do not think you should be viewing your ex's socials because it is not going to help you. But it might not be that you are deliberately avoiding things. It might just be that you didn't see something that one of your friends has and they've passed it on. Maybe, unfortunately, you've been blocked by your ex, but there is a mutual friend who is actually still passing you on this information. Now, whichever way you find out things about your ex but they've posted on their socials, it doesn't make it any easier, whether you are deliberately avoiding things and your friend has just told you, or whether you are still friends and you are diligently trying to see things and then a friend or family member tells you extra information. It doesn't make it any easier about when you see something or read something that makes you feel uncomfortable. And this will generally likely be something where your ex-dumper is coming across that they are enjoying their life to the full. Maybe there is someone else in a photo and you're wondering, is this a new date? Is my ex-dumper dating someone else? Maybe you will read something which almost confirms that they're dating someone new. Or perhaps it's just this hearsay about what exactly is your ex doing within what they've written, what they're showing via their stories, or what they are posting. It's really important to remember that social media is PR, it's public relations, it's what they want you to see, although I'm not specifically saying you the dumpee, I just mean the wider public. They want people to see a certain perspective of their life. Is this real? Well, it might be, but it could also be false. Probably the most likely possibility is that it is somewhere in the middle. It might not be a complete lie, but it's also probably not exactly the way it went down. Specifically, if you were to see a photo of where your ex looks really happy or they look really good, well, this could be something where they've actually had 20 photos taken and this was the only one where they felt it was appropriate to put online. People are selective. Think about it yourself. You probably do this as well. We all do. We want to post online the best things. We want to come across in the best way that we can. So if you see a photo, if you see a video, if you see a post that they've typed, this is likely something that they thought about before they've done it. Now, of course, there are going to be those off-the-cuff moments where somebody types something and sends it and maybe they even live to regret it. But most of the time, if you upload something, you are thinking about it. Specifically, things such as stories, people are often constructing them in their mind before they go ahead and actually create and then post them. The line between truth and lie, fiction and reality is often somewhat blurred on social media. And hence, if you have a friend or family member who has told you, hey, I've seen something that your ex posted online, you need to read this, you need to see this, you need to hear about this, I would say consider this with caution. It might not be exactly as you are being told, and this is before we even consider the fact that you are being told this by a third party. Your friend or family member might not be deliberately telling you false information, but they're telling you things that they have not written themselves. They are telling you things that you haven't actually seen. So what we can say here is a third party might inadvertently get things wrong. In particular, the context. They could get information wrong just a little bit, which can cause you a lot of anxiety. I would suggest you try and stay as calm and relaxed as possible about any information you were told that your ex-dumper has supposedly put online. Even if it seems very clear and obvious that they're dating someone new, even if there is some very strong evidence to suggest that, again, it's not always the case. We all know of instances of where people joke around online, maybe somebody grabs somebody else's phone and types something up. You never know exactly what the truth is. So even when it seems very, very likely that this is reality, it still might not be. Okay? Now, of course it could, but I would say in general, try to stay as calm and relaxed as possible, because social media is not something which can be fully trusted. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please like this video if you're watching on YouTube, and if you have a new hype feature, please hype this video as well. If you like my content, subscribe to the channel to keep updated. And point number 2 is I saw your ex at this place last night. So again, we're speaking about a friend or family member giving you information about what they've seen. And in this instance, we're talking about when they've actually physically seen your ex last night, and they're telling you information on this. Now, a common thread throughout today's podcast, as I mentioned and touched upon in point number 1, is that this is from a third party. So this is something you have to bear in mind throughout all of these points. Okay, it's a third party, and the reality might be somewhat twisted. I'm not saying deliberately, but inadvertently. When information is passed on from one to another, this is when things can sometimes get lost, especially in context. But putting that to one side, if your friend or family member says, hey, I was out at this place last night and I saw your ex, what does this mean? Well, if they're going to be telling you this information, presumably there is a story attached. They're not likely to be telling you it for no reason. So they're likely to be telling you, hey, I saw your ex in person last night and they look terrible. They don't look very good at all. And if you hear this information, this might actually make you feel good. You might be thinking, oh, well, they're suffering as well. It's not just me. And that is something which could absolutely be the case. Somebody ends a relationship because they don't feel it's working for them, but it's not because they've got this grand plan of how they think their life could be better. Often it's a journey in the dark. They don't know exactly how they're going to be feeling, and there is a strong possibility that they are not going to be feeling all that good beyond your breakup, just as you're not. So if you have a friend or family member who has said that they've seen your ex out and about somewhere, and they don't look very good, they don't look very healthy, they don't look very happy, this is probably the truth. Don't be questioning things and thinking, well, it's not possible. They dumped me. They must be delighted. The reality is they could be struggling in their own way as well. Now, this isn't the only reason why a friend or family member might say they've seen your ex out and about. The truth is, they might also be saying that they've seen your ex-dumper because they're trying to pass on information which they believe you should know, even though deep down they know you will be concerned. And this could be that they've seen your ex-dumper somewhere with a different person that they don't know of and they don't think you would know of, and putting one and one together and hopefully making two in their mind, they are thinking this could be your ex-dumper dating someone new. And they're telling you this. They're trying to be a good friend. They're trying to warn you. But unfortunately, all that it's doing is ruining your day. I would actually suggest that you tell other people, please don't pass on information about my ex to me. It's not going to help me. At best, it's going to confuse me. And at worst, it's going to break my heart again. Please don't tell me, because it's not going to help you. You might have been getting through your day somewhat okay, and then you hear this information and you crash. But is it even exactly as it seems? Was your ex-dumper seen kissing this new person? If they were, then we have to acknowledge this is probably exactly as it seems. It is a date. Doesn't mean they're in a relationship necessarily, but unfortunately if they are kissing someone else, well, that is what it is. But is that the truth? Were they kissing? Were they holding hands? Or were they just standing next to someone having a conversation? If that is what you are being told, you need to take this on face value. Just because a friend or family member is passing this information on, saying, hey, they was pretty close, they seemed like they were having a real in-depth conversation, they was looking at each other lovingly, is this really true? Your friend or family member probably walked by very quickly. They probably saw this situation play out over a second or two. Do they really know what they saw? Maybe this was a work colleague. Maybe this was someone that they knew from their past. Maybe this was a distant family member that your friend or family member doesn't know, and they are assuming this could be a date, when in reality, your ex-dumper was just having a conversation with their cousin. Okay, you don't know for certain. So this is why it's so important to not let your mood and emotions drop so suddenly when you're told information such as, hey, I saw your ex and I was with somebody else and we was looking pretty close. I think they might have been going on a date with this person. Unless there is real hardcore evidence, like maybe they're holding hands, maybe they're kissing, unless there is that intimate knowledge, the reality is it could be anybody. It could be someone that they work with, it could be a family member, it could be a friend, it could be someone that they knew from school and they haven't seen in 25 years. It could be anything. So even though your friend might be thinking 1 + 1 = 2, they might actually be getting 1 + 1 = 3. Okay, this is something where they might be getting it wrong and they're passing the info on to you, and it is not helping. Try to not buy into this fully because we don't know the reality. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. Go to my website www.datetome.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. Talking about your feelings can also improve your mental health. It helps prevent the buildup of negative emotions, which can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. Speak your heart to free your mind. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast. If you feel that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description. And point number 3 is I saw your ex on this online dating app. Now, if you were passed on this information by someone that you know, if they say to you, hey, I was using some online dating app and I saw your ex on it, what are you as a dumpee going to think? Well, you're going to be thinking, they've moved on, they're never coming back, they're dating somebody new, they're probably dating multiple people, I've lost them forever. Now, what does this really mean? Well, we have to look at things from what we can understand. Your ex-dumper has been spotted on an online dating app. But does it mean the profile is new? Does it mean that the profile is active? No, it doesn't. Unless there is evidence that they've been online very recently, we can't say that for certain. It's a well-known trick that online dating apps often use old profiles when you're searching for someone via the app. Depending, of course, on the specifics of the app, would dictate exactly how this plays out, but in essence, dating apps need to showcase a large amount of possible options, and therefore, even if a profile hasn't been logged into in a long time, there is a strong possibility you might still be shown on the app in some regard. Now, I know as a dumpee that might not necessarily make you feel too much better, because you might be thinking, okay, they might not actually be active right now, but they clearly once were active. And when they were active, maybe they met someone, and if they're not active now, maybe they are with that new person. I understand those thoughts and those worries, but it is very difficult to find someone, whether it's online dating or out in the real world. My research has shown that most people struggle to find a long-term compatible partner within the first year post-breakup. So it doesn't matter if they're online dating or not. The likelihood is they're not going to find anyone that matches them in a long-term way. So if you don't believe they are currently active, the likelihood is they've just given up on it, rather than meeting someone that they are together forever with. There is also no guarantee that your ex-dumper actually met anyone. Some people use online dating as a way to speak to different people, but they don't actually want to meet. They just feel lonely. They want to have conversation. In fact, I suggest dumpees do this. I suggest that you go online dating, and even if you don't feel ready to meet, you can at least have some conversation. So even though it is likely true that you've been passed on the information that your expert dumper does have an online dating profile, we firstly don't know if it's active or not. We secondly don't know if they ever met anybody or not. And thirdly, it certainly doesn't mean you can't hear from them again. If someone is online dating, it just shows that in that moment, they decided to join an online dating app. It doesn't mean that they're going to feel like they want to use that application in the days, weeks, or months following. We all live in the moment. We speak in the moment. We feel in the moment. This is why, unfortunately, your relationship ended, because during that moment, they were not feeling enough romantic emotional attraction. But it doesn't mean it can't regrow. Similarly, if they joined an online dating site, it doesn't mean that they think that's a good idea a few weeks or months further forward. The important thing, dumpees, is that you focus on you and not your ex. And like I said earlier, I would suggest that you ask your friends and family, please don't pass on information to me, because at best you're going to confuse me, and at worst you're going to break my heart again. And if you want to get your ex back, you don't need that negativity in your life.